They thought it was gone forever. In March of 1968, a Soviet ballistic missile submarine vanished without a trace in the Pacific Ocean. No distress call, no survivors, no explanation. The submarine was the K-129, a Gulf II-class diesel-powered ballistic missile submarine of the Soviet Navy. On board were nearly 100 crew members, nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles, and sensitive Cold War technology. Within days, the Soviet Union launched a massive search operation. Ships scanned the ocean. Aircraft combed the skies. Submarines patrolled silently. They found nothing, but what they didn't know was that the United States had already detected something unusual. The U.S. Navy operated a classified underwater listening network known as SOSI, designed to track Soviet submarines through acoustic signatures. In early March 1968, sensors recorded what analysts believe was an implosion event in the Pacific, an underwater acoustic anomaly. After triangulation and analysis, American intelligence determined the approximate location of the wreck, nearly 1,500 miles northwest of Hawaii, at a depth of about 16,500 feet, more than 3 miles below the surface. At that depth, pressure exceeds 7,000 pounds per square inch. No salvage operation in history had ever attempted recovery from such depths. And yet, U.S. intelligence saw an opportunity too valuable to ignore. If they could retrieve the submarine, they might gain nuclear missile design intelligence, Soviet naval codes, encryption materials, operational procedures. In the middle of the Cold War, that kind of intelligence was priceless. The mission was approved by the Central Intelligence Agency under the name Project Azorian. It would become one of the most ambitious covert engineering operations ever attempted. But how do you secretly raise a 2,000-ton Soviet submarine from the ocean floor without starting World War III? The solution required deception on a global scale. Enter Howard Hughes. Hughes was one of the richest and most mysterious men in America, an aviation pioneer, industrialist, billionaire, eccentric. Publicly, it was announced that Hughes would build a revolutionary deep-sea mining ship to harvest manganese nodules from the ocean floor. The ship would be called the Hughes Glomar Explorer. To the world, it was a bold industrial experiment. In reality, it was a CIA recovery vessel. The ship was massive, over 600 feet long, equipped with a moon pool, a large opening in its center, through which equipment could be lowered unseen. Inside the ship, engineers installed a gigantic mechanical claw system known as the capture vehicle. The claw would descend nearly 3 miles underwater, lock onto the wreck, and lift it to the surface. Inside the ship's hull, hidden from view, the engineering challenges were staggering. The lifting pipe system alone had to support thousands of tons. Precision alignment was critical. One miscalculation could snap the pipe, lose the wreck, and expose the operation. Years of development followed. Billions in today's dollars were spent. The operation was so secret that even many crew members aboard the Glomar Explorer did not know the true mission. In 1974, the ship quietly sailed to the recovery site. The Soviet Union noticed the unusual vessel but believed the mining cover story. Still, Soviet ships monitored the area. The CIA had to operate carefully. The capture vehicle began its descent. Mile after mile of pipe was lowered. The claw disappeared into total darkness. At 16,500 feet, sunlight does not exist. It took hours just for commands to travel through the mechanical system. When the claw finally reached the wreck, operators relied on cameras and sensors to align it. The moment of capture was tense. Eventually, the claw closed around part of the submarine. The lift began. Slowly, carefully, but halfway up, disaster struck. Part of the submarine broke apart. Under immense stress, a significant section slipped from the claw and fell back into the abyss. Only a forward portion of the submarine was successfully raised. The CIA had recovered something, but not everything. Exactly what was retrieved remains partially classified. However, declassified summaries confirm that several nuclear-armed torpedoes were recovered. Some equipment was obtained. The remains of 6 Soviet sailors were found. In a rare moment of humanity during the Cold War, the CIA conducted a burial-at-sea ceremony. For the recovered sailors, the ceremony was filmed. In 1992, after the Cold War ended, the United States shared the footage with Russia. It was a quiet gesture of respect. Meanwhile, the operation remained secret until journalists exposed it in 1975. When questioned, the CIA responded with a now famous praise. They could neither confirm nor deny the existence of such an operation. That response became known as the Glomar response. It is still used today by U.S. agencies when responding to sensitive information requests. The exposure embarrassed the CIA. The Soviets learned that at least part of their submarine had been recovered. Plans for a second recovery attempt were cancelled. Project Azorian officially ended, so was it worth it? Financially, the operation cost roughly $800 million in 1970s dollars, equivalent to several billion today. Strategically, it demonstrated something profound. The United States was willing to push technological limits to gain intelligence dominance. 3 miles underwater, in total secrecy. During the height of nuclear tension, the Cold War wasn't just fought in Berlin or Vietnam, it was fought in silence. In the dark, beneath. Melin Theo 9. And perhaps the most fascinating part is this. For decades, most Americans had no idea this mission ever happened. No headlines, no celebrations, no public acknowledgement, just a classified file and a massive ship that claimed to be mining rocks. Project Azorian remains one of the boldest covert operations in intelligence history. Not because it was perfect, not because it recovered everything, but because it attempted what many believed was impossible, to steal a Soviet nuclear submarine from the bottom of the ocean. And for a brief moment, they actually did. If this story surprised you, imagine how many Cold War operations are still buried in classified archives. Kami, Glomar, if you made it this far, and if you want more real declassified intelligence missions, the kind that sound like movies but are completely true, subscribe, because history's most unbelievable stories are often the ones they tried hardest to hide.